Picasso Gagosian exhibition. To stand inside the Gagosian for this exhibition is to step out of time. The cavernous, pristine white walls, the impossibly high ceilings, the almost reverential silence, it all works to create a kind of temporal vacuum. Here, there is no outside world. There is only you, and there is Picasso. But this is not the Picasso of museum postcards or auction house headlines. This is something far more intimate, more unnerving, and infinitely more revealing. The exhibition is called Tête-à-tête, a French phrase that translates to head to head. But its meaning runs deeper than that. It implies a private conversation, a face-to-face encounter, often with a sense of confrontation or deep confidentiality. And that is the profound curatorial genius at the heart of this show. This isn't a chronological march through Picasso's greatest hits. It's a meticulously staged series of conversations where paintings and sculptures, separated by decades, are placed in direct, electrifying dialogue with one another. The result is an experience that dismantles the myth of the monolithic artistic genius and instead reveals a man in constant, often turbulent conversation with the world, with his art, and most critically, with himself. The curatorial vision here is audacious. It rejects the traditional linear narrative of an artist's life, blue period, rose period, cubism, surrealism, and so on. Instead, it operates like a brilliant psychologist, pulling threads from different moments of Picasso's 70-year career to expose the core obsessions that haunted him from start to finish. A portrait of a lover from the 1930s might be hung opposite a brutal self-portrait from the 1970s. A 1937 portrait of a weeping Dora Maar, her face a shattered landscape of grief, might find itself in a silent, screaming match with a late-career musketeer figure, a symbol of Picasso's own fading virility and bravado. This juxtaposition is everything. It forces us to see beyond the surface style and into the raw, emotional continuity of his work. We begin to understand that for Picasso, the act of painting was never merely about depiction. It was an act of interrogation. He wasn't just painting a face, he was dissecting a relationship, vivisecting an emotion, challenging the very idea of a stable, singular identity. This exhibition proposes that Picasso's entire body of work can be understood as a series of these tête-à-têtes. First, there is the dialogue with his muses. These are not passive sitters. In Picasso's hands, Marie-Thérèse Walter, Dora Maar, Françoise Gillot, and Jacqueline Roch become complex psychological territories. Their portraits are battlegrounds of love, possession, tenderness, and cruelty. The artist and model are locked in a psychic duel, a power struggle that plays out in every fractured plane and distorted limb. The exhibition lays this bare, allowing us to witness these intense, often fraught relationships as ongoing conversations rather than finished statements. Then there is the dialogue Picasso has with himself. His self-portraits are a relentless, unflinching chronicle of a man confronting his own image, his fame, his aging, and his mortality. From the confident, almost arrogant gaze of his youth to the terrifying, skull-like visage of his final years, we see an artist using the canvas as a mirror to hold a tête-à-tête with his own soul. It is a conversation that grows more desperate and more profound as time wears on. And finally, there's the most important dialogue of all, the one that happens right here, in this gallery, between the artwork and the viewer. The confrontational nature of these pieces is no accident. The piercing, asymmetrical eyes of a Cubist portrait don't just sit on the canvas. They follow you, they challenge you, they demand a response. You are not a passive observer in this space. You are the other half of the conversation. You are pulled into the tête-à-tête. The exhibition's layout encourages this. There are no velvet ropes keeping you at a distance. The scale of the Gagosian allows each piece to command its own space, to breathe, to assert its presence. You can get close, study the thick impasto of the paint, see the raw energy of the brushstrokes. You can feel the artist's presence, his urgency, his struggle. This is what sets Tête-à-tête apart from a typical museum retrospective. It's not a history lesson. It is an active, present-tense experience. It's an invitation to engage with one of the most formidable creative forces of all time on the most personal terms imaginable. To understand that for Picasso, a portrait was never just a picture of a person, but the living record of an encounter. Block 2. Picasso Art Analysis. Stepping deeper into the exhibition, the central theme of Tête-à-tête moves from a curatorial concept into a visceral, emotional reality. It lives and breathes in the paint itself, and nowhere is this dialogue more potent than in the gaze. The eyes in Picasso's portraits are the absolute focal point of these encounters. They are rarely rendered with simple realism. Instead, they are deconstructed and reassembled to convey a psychological truth far deeper than what a photograph could ever capture. They are portals. In one portrait, an eye might be rendered in sharp, aggressive profile, while the other stares out with the full frontal vulnerability of a classical bust. This is Cubism's greatest trick, and Picasso wields it not as a mere stylistic flourish, but as a weapon of emotional revelation. He is showing us two states of being at once, the face presented to the world and the inner turmoil raging behind it. A face split into multiple, simultaneous viewpoints becomes the visual manifestation of a complex, contradictory personality. This is the core of the dialogue, the refusal to accept a single, simple truth. Consider the works inspired by Dora Maar. Their relationship was famously tumultuous, and Picasso's portraits of her are among the most emotionally raw of his career. In the Weeping Woman series, a theme he returned to again and again, the Tête-à-tête is one of shared and inflicted trauma. He isn't just painting a woman crying, he is painting the very architecture of sorrow. Her face is a landscape of jagged edges and acidic colors. The tears are not gentle drops of water, but sharp, crystalline shards that seem to cut her skin. Her handkerchief is a jagged weapon she gnaws on. This is not a passive depiction of sadness, it is an active, violent explosion of grief. The dialogue here is multi-layered. It's Picasso confronting Maar's suffering, a suffering he himself often caused. It's a confrontation with the horrors of the Spanish Civil War, which raged as he painted these works. And it's a confrontation with the limitations of art itself. Can a painting truly contain such immense pain? By fragmenting her face, he suggests that her identity has been shattered by grief. We are forced into a tête-à-tête not with a person, but with the very essence of human despair. We cannot look away because the composition, the colors, the sheer force of the emotion holds us captive. Then we turn a corner and are confronted by a different, even more chilling dialogue, Picasso's conversation with his own mortality. His late self-portraits, created in the last years of his life, are utterly devastating. Gone is the virile minotaur, the godlike creator. In his place is a terrified, wizened creature stripped of all artifice. In Self-Portrait Facing Death from 1972, he presents his face as a raw, ravaged mask. The colors are chalky and thin, like dried earth or gone. The hollowed-out, terrified eyes of his last self-portrait are wide with a primal fear, the gaze of a man staring directly into the abyss. The flesh seems to melt away from the skull beneath. This is Picasso holding a final, unflinching tête-à-tête with the one subject he cannot conquer or control, death itself. The brushwork is frantic, a desperate attempt to capture his own disappearing essence before it's gone forever. Placing these works in the same exhibition as his powerful, confident earlier pieces creates a heart-wrenching dialogue across time. The young, defiant artist is forced to confront his own inevitable end. It is a testament to his staggering courage that even at his most vulnerable, he refused to look away, and, by extension, he forces us to confront our mortality as well. This dialogue isn't confined to two-dimensional canvases. It explodes into form in his sculptures. When we look at a bronze like Tête-à-tête, one of his earliest forays into Cubist sculpture, we see the same principles at work. He's not just sculpting a head, he's sculpting the way light falls upon it, the way our eye moves around it, the way memory retains it. The solid form is broken into a series of interlocking planes and facets, creating a dynamic interplay of light and shadow, solid and void. It's as if he's trying to represent the subject and the very act of perceiving the subject simultaneously. The sculpture becomes a tête-à-tête between form and space. Each angle reveals a new face, a new truth, denying the viewer a single fixed perspective. This is the ultimate lesson of the exhibition. For Picasso, every work of art was a living, breathing encounter. It was a problem to be solved, an argument to be had, a secret to be shared. The paintings and sculptures gathered here are not artifacts. They are the living transcripts of these profound and eternal dialogues. Block 3. Gagosian Exhibition Review. Having immersed ourselves in the intense dialogues on the canvases, we must now consider the dialogue between the art and the space itself. Presenting Picasso within the hyper-contemporary, cathedral-like confines of the Gagosian Gallery is a bold and fascinating choice. This is not a warm, wood-paneled museum. It is a white cube in its most absolute form, a stark, minimalistic environment designed for the art of today. And the effect this has on Picasso's work is transformative. On one hand, the sheer scale and austerity of the gallery could risk making these deeply personal, historical works feel like sterile specimens under a microscope. Yet the opposite happens. The raw, untamed emotional energy of Picasso's paintings feels amplified by the minimalist surroundings. A single, massive Picasso canvas dominating a vast, empty white wall becomes an icon, a monument to human emotion. The lack of architectural distraction forces an unparalleled level of focus. There is nowhere else for your eye to go. The white walls become a silent arena, and within it, each painting's internal drama plays out with maximum impact. It's a tête-à-tête in its purest form, stripped of all context but the immediate, powerful presence of the work itself. This exhibition makes a profound contribution to the contemporary discourse surrounding Picasso. For decades, the narrative has often been simplified. Picasso the revolutionary, Picasso the genius, or, more recently, Picasso the problematic misogynist. Tête-à-tête complicates all of these labels. By focusing on the confrontational and psychological aspects of his work, the exhibition moves beyond biography and into a more universal territory. It presents an artist grappling with timeless human conditions, the complexity of love, the struggle for identity, the terror of aging, the nature of aging, the nature of creativity. In our current age of digital saturation and fleeting images, this exhibition is a powerful antidote. It demands slow looking. It demands patience. It demands that we stand before a physical object and engage with it on a deeply human level. It reminds us that art is not just content to be scrolled past, but an experience to be had, a conversation to be entered into. By framing his work this way, Gagosian argues for Picasso's urgent relevance. He is not a relic of modernism to be revered from a distance. He is a contemporary voice whose raw, unflinching honesty about the messiness of human existence feels more necessary now than ever. The exhibition doesn't shy away from the problematic aspects of his relationships with women. Instead, it lays the evidence bare on the canvas, forcing us to confront the difficult power dynamics and emotional violence present in the work. Ultimately, Tête-à-tête is a powerful testament to Picasso's enduring, almost terrifying legacy. Why, more than 50 years after his death, does his work still hold such an unbreakable grip on our imagination? This exhibition provides the answer. It's because the conversations he started are not over. The questions he asked about identity, perception, and emotion are still the questions we ask ourselves today. He shattered the conventions of representation not for the sake of novelty, but in a relentless pursuit of a deeper truth, a psychological reality that lay hidden beneath the surface of things. A blur of motion as the camera moves between several powerful portraits shows us that his true medium wasn't just paint or clay, it was human consciousness itself. He painted the way we feel, the way we remember, the way we love, and the way we fear. Each piece in this gallery is a challenge thrown down across the decades, and the enduring power of his legacy is that we are still compelled to pick it up. Tête-à-tête is more than just an exhibition. It is a profound and necessary reevaluation. It strips away the myth and the market value to reveal the raw, beating heart of Picasso's artistic project, a lifelong, relentless, and courageous dialogue with the very essence of what it means to be human. It is an unmissable, unforgettable encounter.